Hi there! Are you ready to start shading our characters from the last video? Alright, great. Scoot over. Make sure your pencil is of the highest quality and 100% FDA approved. If you love partially hydrogenated oils and dough conditioner that's banned in other countries as much as I do, go for the Franz Bread pencil. Why? To enrich your drawings, of course. Before we get into the juicy stuff, you need to know how to make a gradient. Practice varying pressure from dark to light or light to dark. Doing a gradient on a curve is a bit harder. I like to shade the whole thing lightly, then break it into different shades or values. From there, I can smooth it all out using my laser vision. Pencil. You will also need an eraser for this tutorial, so let's give Mr. Franz a hat. What the heck is that thing? Really, eraser? You got a zit on the one day that I need to film this? Come on, man! First up is the simple girl. Her name is Gretchen. Start by lightly shading one side of her arms, body, legs, and head. Whichever side you choose, stick to it. That will make the drawing like a billion times more accurate. Remember, this is the simplest one, and like always, they will progress in difficulty as we go on. Now, let's shade under everything that would overlap each other as if it was 3D. That includes the hair, chin, the poofs and elastic parts of the sleeves, the bottom of the sweatshirt, shorts, strap on the boots, and the underside of her chest, but save that part in the middle to indicate a wrinkle folding up into the light. There's a reason these are called your pits. Light rarely reaches this endless void. Now, shade along the wrinkles that are already in place. You can also erase the ones that you don't like. Now for the hair. Lightly shade in all of her hair. For the highlight, erase an upside down rainbow in the top. You can outline the edges to make it less blurry. For the shadow, start with a thin light strip touching the bottom of her feet. Because the shadows are on the right side of her body, darkening to the right is accurate. This is where you can practice your gradient. On to the simple male. Let's start with the jeans. Shade in a slight gradient getting darker at the bottom. Now do a very light pass over the skin and shirt. To add Converse type sneakers, heavily shade in the areas except for the toe and where some of the shoelaces would be. Finish by shading in the hair. Now it's time to do the same shading we did with the first character. Remember to keep all of the shadows on the same side. We can move on to the overlaps at the hair, chin, and clothes. Now we can go over the wrinkles again, turning them from thin lines to little blobby shapes. To finish off the jeans, darken the lower half below the knee and blend it into the rest of the leg. Usually, the thighs will create a slight shadow over the shins. Holding the back of the pencil and using the side of the lead, you can add some quick texture to the shirt by lightly shading in the direction of the wrinkles. Make the same highlight in the hair as before. As a rule, when dealing with very light and very dark, less blending equals more shine. Let's finish up the body by making an outline around him. All that's left to do is the same shadow as before. Start with a light base, then a gradient from the shoes, blending in with the rest of the shadow. On to our Illuminati assassin. In the middle, on everything except for the outsides, lightly shade in an even tone. Now, repeat the process, but keeping even more in the middle this time. This will create 3 tones. White on the outside, then light gray, then the darkest on the very insides. Now we can do the overlaps just like the last 2 we did. Under her hair, chin, hood, cloak, waist wraps, poofy sleeves, arm wraps, skirt tongue, skirt, poofy pants, and shin guards. Then we can start turning the wrinkle lines into wrinkle blobs. Did you forget to add the wrinkles to her cloak last time? She looks pretty upset about it. This guy doesn't care. Once you've finished up redefining the wrinkles, Go back through one more time and darken the very middle. To add some easy extra detail, shade with the direction of the wrinkles in her clothes. For example, the cloak and skirt are mostly swoops, so swoop it up. Doing this extra bit of darkening is called increasing contrast and is used to help grab the viewer's attention. Alright, time for a quick pee break. Performance enhancing education. Especially when working with a strong light source, keep in mind the direction of light. In this case, with our Illuminati assassin, there is one intense light behind her, and the general rule with lighting is shadow runs away from the light. We're going to draw a light base, then shadows coming from her feet down to appear like it's coming toward us and away from the light. To make it even more accurate, shade in the direction of the ground. Yes, the ground has direction. When it's coming towards us, it's horizontal, see? The shadow is darker toward the feet because that's the closest. As the shadow moves away, it gets further away from the body, becoming less intense. Cool, with the technical stuff out of the way, let's darken the outlines of the clothes and add a highlight to the hair in the same way that we did with the other two characters. Alright Zabio, are you ready for this? We're going to combine every shading technique from all three characters into this last one. First, make a light, even tone across the whole character. Then, let's darken in that man skirt except for the details. Now do the same for the belt, ignoring the buckle. Lightly shade in the forearm guards and boots. Now we can shade in the skirt tongue except for the designs, and lightly shade in the other belt so it doesn't blend in with the other dark parts. Do the same for the shoulder strap and the upper waist armor. Let's turn that weird shaped thing in the middle into metal. To do this, there needs to be a lot of contrast, very dark against very light. We can achieve this by adding gradients at every section. And while the dark is on top like this, it looks concave. If you were to put the dark at the bottom and the light at the top, it would look convex. We can do the same thing with the circle thing above it. Let's shade that metal shoulder plate using the same principles. Draw a line partway inside, following the curve on the outside. Now, make a gradient coming down, getting lighter where it meets the strap across his chest. Then, do the opposite from that corner up. There should be a light spot in the middle as well as on the outside. To separate the other metal details, you can make gradients that are staggered, kind of like a checkerboard. Let's move on and lightly shade the hair with a gradient that's a little darker on the bottom. From there, repeat the step from the first character when you shaded all on the same side, except this time we're gonna blend it instead of just making a line. Skip the shoulder plate though. The white ring on the outside needs to be saved as the shine. Remember that curve gradient from the beginning of the video? This is where you use it. Gradually darken the bottom of the pecs. Since the pecs stick out from the chest, it's almost like this is a weak version of the overlap shadows from before. Keep a space white in between them and don't forget to darken the pits. Here's where we can take from the assassin. Erase a thin line from the shadow side that you did earlier. Doing so will give the impression of two light sources, a medium strength one from the front left and a strong one from the back right. Notice how it lines up with the shoulder plate. Now redraw any of the outlines that you ended up erasing, but make sure to keep that gap of white space. Now, redefine the shadow so it doesn't blend in with the white space. Remember, that white space doesn't play by the same rules. Its purpose in life is to interrupt that beautiful shadow gradient we did. Now, it's time again to increase contrast. You can do this by erasing the top of the shoulder and pecs. You can also lightly erase part of the forearm guards and his torso. Reshade the parts that you erased by accident. Because the sword blade and cross guard are made of metal, they need some super high contrast too. Make some gradients across the blade all going in one direction. Because that's what makes it beautiful! Woo! Now we can add the overlap shadows. This especially applies to pieces that stick out far away from his body. The reason for the overlap folds is to give the impression of the sun or some sort of ambient light source. If the sun is up top, then the shadows are gonna run away downwards, underneath anything that sticks out. Now let's tie everything together by darkening the outline and any lines that accidentally got faded. So faded. In a matter of seconds, this step can make a quick sketch look like a finished sketch. The extra bit of effort can really go a long way. Hair reflects light, so it hits the parts that bulge out, acting in the opposite way that shadows do. Since there's two light sources, there's going to be two shadows. Start with a light base tone. Since there's that strong backlight on the right side, add gradients coming down and slightly to the left. And because there's a medium light to his left, make gradients going to the right. You can smooth out the edges by erasing or shading in parts that don't look right. You'll have to train your eyes to see it in your head. Don't worry, it'll come with practice. Erase the guidelines and take a gander, you beautiful artist, you. Remember, the only time that you will ever fail is when you stop trying. So if you draw anything, ever, you win. Hey, what's up? We finished the first series, and I am so excited to start the chibis. Man, they're gonna be so cute. I mean, kawaii, desu, neko neko. Arigatou gozaimashite, gracias por todo, besitos, mwah. That's not even Japanese. Anyway, this series is the simplest, and we'll be getting cooler and cooler as we go on in time. Chibi, manga, realistic, and some digital painting stuff too. Oh, and check out the worksheets that I have for you. This is how I used it for this video, so very useful. Anyway, until we meet again, have a beautiful day, and thanks for watching. Spit that out. Sorry, he's teething.